Hello and welcome to the political updates on TepTV. And after a long time, I'm so sorry we're back with a bang. I did not travel, I did not go anywhere. I was just quite busy. Very sorry for that. But now I need to take my job seriously or else I'll get fired. My name once again is Shegun and I want to appreciate us as we are now 1K plus subscribers. Thank you very much. This is so amazing. For those of us who have not subscribed, please subscribe. We need you to press the subscribe button and give us your support. We are asking for your votes. Please, now, so in today's video, we will be discussing the several factors that will determine next year's presidential election. You may be wondering that, how does this video actually affect the political analysis that we've been delivering? Well, yes, it does, because it will inform you of whether your candidate stands a chance or not. Whether you are supporting Kwankwaso, Tinubu, Obi, Atiku, or even Shoutout, we would like to know if you would end up victorious after the elections. Quickly, let's dive into the 8 factors that we have that will determine the February 2023 election. Factor number 1, voters turnout. Over the election years, we have seen a drop in voters turnout, and despite the fact that a lot, and when I mean a lot, I repeat, a lot of rigging happens in Nigeria, we still have low turnout. So despite the fact that people inflate figures, votings, and everything, there's a lot of rigging that happens, we still have a low voters turnout. Amongst the 4 leading candidates in Tinubu, Kwankwaso, Atiku, and Obi is the one likely to suffer or enjoy the most from this. That is, if the voters turnout is low, Obi would likely suffer from it, and if the voters turnout is high, Obi will likely enjoy from it. Obi and Labour Party looks like a new bride, but more important is that they have the lowest number of political superstars. So if you look at Labour Party compared to other parties, even to the NNPP, you will discover that they have the least number of political superstars in their team. Now, if you look at the crowd in the campaign launch in Nasarawa, for example, you will see that they did not have so much crowd as you would expect it to be, as they would have loved. So many of Obi's supporters have been tagged as social media, and even though I have said several times on this show, and I'm saying again, that social media will vote, my problem is their lack of voters experience. So my problem is not the fact that they will vote or they will not vote. My problem, whether they will turn out or not turn out. My problem is the fact that they have a lack of voters experience. For example, and Obi's, while a Kwankwaso's possible voter will be waking up 8 a.m. in the morning to get prepared to run down to the polling unit, I hope an Obi's candidate will not be thinking that the ballot box is still open after 6 o'clock in the evening. So those are some of the issues that we have with respect to Obi. So in case of factor number 1, the voters turnout, if on that day there is apathy of voters, Obi's supporters will likely be the ones with the highest percentage. The 3 other leading candidates have experienced persons who will definitely come out to vote. So factor number 2 is the current government. I will say this for free, but having seen all the administrations in 1999 return to democracy, this is the worst administration ever. And I'll be sharing a scorecard that channels posted even in their videos some time back. And I say this without any reserved apology. The problem is that while they say that the COVID-19 and the economic recessions is the cause, do not forget the fact that this government has been in power for 8 years. There were 2 economic recessions according to them, yet some countries have fared better up till date. That's number 1. Number 2, the COVID-19 was not only affecting Nigeria. In short, it affected Nigeria as one of the least countries compared to other countries like Italy and some countries in Europe. Even China, for example, has recovered from the COVID-19 and they are doing fine. So if Nigeria stands its ground, as this is the reason why the government has not done as expected, then you will see the reason that some of all these issues are wrong. So it surely tells us that the current administration has not done so well compared to other administrations since the return to democracy in 1999. And I'll give you some of the wrong things that they have done. Number 1, banning of Twitter, and they had to pay money to keep Twitter banned for as long period as it was banned. Banning of cryptocurrency, or as the case may be, where some other countries like Russia and China are taking advantage of cryptocurrency as a means of exchange. And normally in exchange rate, having two exchange rates, one called the official or one called parallel market, and so many things like that, confusing the citizen, because the ordinary aboki is going to be selling for 800 and something naira, whereas the official rate apparently says 400 naira. So look at that 400 naira increase. Then of course, buying luxurious cars for the J Republic. I don't understand how house will be on strike and the Minister for Education will be purchasing a form to run for the president of the country, and so many anomalies that we can see, even down to the fact that the president is claiming the office of the Minister of Petroleum, paying kidnappers ransom, printing new currency notes when Nigeria surely is saying that we don't have so much money, and the Minister of Finance is saying that she's not aware of the fact that the CBN says that they want to print new money. So they have been so consistent in wrongdoings, if I was going to say something like that. And the person suffering the most from this current administration among the leading candidates is Tinubu, who happens to be from the same party as the current administration. While he has a group of political elites who are larger than other political parties, that's the reality. The APC is the largest political party in Nigeria. He doesn't have all of the general public. And it's difficult to see Tinubu getting more than 14 million votes next year because of the current administration. So while other candidates are looking at how to boost or improve the number of votes that they have had over years, Tinubu is looking at how to safeguard the one he has had so that he doesn't lose more. Factor number 3 is going to be ethnicity. If each tribe would vote for each other, then who would win the election? The truth is in between. For this factor, I cannot say who benefits the least, because it is impossible to not have some betrayers from one place or the other. So for example, we are saying that this person is Yoruba, all Yorubas will vote for Yoruba, or all Igbos will vote for Igbo, all Hausas will vote for Kwankwaso or Atiku. There is no way you will not still have some betrayers in between the lines. So, and I think that the person that the ethnic card will likely favor the most is Obi, and the person to suffer the most again from it is Tinubu, judging by the fact that all other parties have found it very difficult to campaign in the southeast, especially, except maybe Abga, who also emanates from the southeast. But when we look at the place of Tinubu, where you have a strong Lagos, where so many Hausas and so many Igbos and people who are not necessarily Yorubas are staying, you discover that Tinubu stands to suffer the least, while Obi stands to suffer the most. And of course, Atiku said a very terrible statement in Kaduna because he knew that did not add a larger block of votes of 20 million in the Northwest alone, over 20 million in the Northwest alone, and the North Central more than 12 million. So he had lost the 2019 election to a stronger Natana in terms of Buhari, who is no longer in balance. So between himself and Kwankwaso, he will likely get the 60% of the vote in the North compared to Kwankwaso's 40%. And he might not even be that close. And then of course, 60% of the 45 million votes is more than 30 million votes. So of course you understand that if you're going to get 45 million votes from the whole North out of the North, that's if everybody turns out to vote. You discover that 30 million votes is more than enough to do the presidency. Of course, Obi, like I said, Obi and Tinubu will share the South. Tinubu will but they will not share it equally, because Tinubu will likely focus more on the Southwest, which has a lot number of votes compared to Obi, who would have the Southeast and a good part of sentiment from the South. So when we look at the political map at the moment, Tinubu tends to suffer more from the ethnicity card, if I'm going to use that word. No wonder, or little wonder, he had to opt for a Muslim ticket to get a strong Northerner, to see a way to convince the Northerners to get them the block of votes in the North. Now, factor number 4 is going to be religion. Factor number 4 is religion. Now, Nigeria has been predominantly Muslims and Christians. This has also been seen in our politics of Muslim-Christian pairings, where Obasanjo as a Christian paired with Atiku as a Muslim, and then Sambo as a Muslim paired with Jonathan as a Christian, and now Yaradua also as a Muslim paired with Jonathan as a Christian, and then we see the place of Oshibanjo as a Christian pairing with Buhari as a Muslim. So we have seen these combinations in our politics, and the reality is that this factor will play its part, especially because of some arrangements that have been altered and has raised some concerns in some quarters. Now, Tinubu will suffer the most from this, of course, because he has incurred the wrath of especially the North Central, where majority of the Christian Northerners are. So most of, if you look at the Nigerian map, most Christian Northerners are in the North Central and possibly the southern part of Nigeria. So we discover that while he says it doesn't matter, the truth is that he knows that it matters, and that's the reason why he had to choose someone from the North Central, who is also a Christian, as the Director General of his campaign, the person of Governor Simon Lalo. So he looks likely to suffer the most around this particular arrangement, simply because of the fact that he opted for a Muslim ticket compared to every other person who actually went for the combination of the two religions. Yeah, while many persons will say that it doesn't matter or this or that, the reality is that the sentiment on ground, based on the literacy level in the country, shows that many people will want to kick against a same faith ticket compared to a balanced ticket. Now, factor number 5 will be the Southeast presidency. Now, you may not know it, but this singular act has caused three major problems. I'll start with the smallest one, and of course, I'll move gradually to the largest one. Now, the first problem is the fact that few days to the PDP primaries, Peter Obi decamping from PDP had caused one very major issue. Now, imagine if PDP had just systematically zoned the presidency to the south. As long as they had zoned the presidency to the south, I believe Wike is still going to beat Peter Obi at the eventual polls, and Wike will possibly have been the presidential candidate. Now, it means that in the course of possibly doing that, there's a stronger tendency that Obi will not have decamped to Labour Party, and thereby meaning that we will not necessarily have this third force of Obi who is contesting the elections from Atiku. That's problem number one. Problem number two is the fact that we would not have had a Wike who day and night has been shouting on the fact that Ayu should resign, or this should happen, or that should happen, that's currently affecting or is going to affect Atiku's chances in next year's presidential election. And of course, the number three factor, which many of us never saw coming, which I still think there are many more problems that will happen based on this Southeast presidency, is the Afenifere split. Now, this is the one that is affecting Tinubu, and this is the crux of the matter, where the Afenifere through Pa Adebanjo had actually gathered the Southeast, the South-South, the Southwest, and the North Central, and then the elders, quote and unquote, gathered together and decided to support Obi. Now, some few days ago, we discovered that Tinubu actually went to Akure and then was able to meet with Pa Fashoranti, who happens to be the actual leader, because Pa Adebanjo has the acting capacity. And then there is now a split between elders, men who are over their 70s, as regards who to support in next year's presidential election. So those are three problems already as a result of the Southeast presidency. And I feel that there are still more problems to happen as a result of this. Now, like I said, I may not really be able to say who would benefit from this particular one, but in all of this, who would not have benefited looks like Obi, because Obi possibly would have been hoping for the collaboration of all of the votes from the south, if I put it that word. But then they due to these problems, challenges, and split, the tendency that Obi wants to suffer the most from it. Now, factor number 6 happens to be the power of incumbency, structure, and money. Now, it appears that for everything that Tinubu benefits most from, Obi benefits least from it. Now, APC has the largest structure and money, both consciously and unconsciously. The APC says that they are coming to a particular street, both consciously or unconsciously. People are hoping. Now, while the PDP has a more established setup, because the PDP has been for many years and has a more established setup, and even if you look at what INEC released as per the number of candidates that each political party has decided to field for all the different offices across the federation, we discover that the PDP has the highest number compared to even the APC. But the reality on ground is that the APC has more sitting governors, has more sitting senators, has more sitting reps. Lagos, for example, has its group of agberus, I'm sorry to use that word, that are being run by the APC government. So whether, as I said, whether consciously or unconsciously, we see that they have a bigger setup compared to other political parties. Now, there are people who are so loyal to the current administration and will definitely come out to vote. In short, let them be sick and be bedridden, they will definitely carry their beds and come out to vote on that day. But it may not necessarily be the case for other political parties. So the power of incumbency also is so strong that it really looks like as if there are no sniffs or cracks. You would argue that Jonathan was also the current president too and lost. And the truth is yes. But the reality is that it took the betrayal of so many PDP politicians and the decamping of Atiku, who was the former vice president. Obasanjo also, who was the former president at that time, was also angry with Jonathan, for Jonathan to actually lose that election. So it means if all of these major things never happen, there is still a tendency that Jonathan will retain power. So nothing of such has happened yet. We have not seen where Buhari is going against Tinubu publicly. We have not seen where Oshibanjo, even though people say Oshibanjo is not happy, we have not seen where Oshibanjo is going publicly against a Tinubu, for example. Now mind you, Atiku was a stronger vice president compared to Oshibanjo, because Oshibanjo had been more of a listening to the vice president to how vocal Atiku was even when Obasanjo was in power. So I believe that in this particular factor, Tinubu stands to benefit the most because of the power of incumbency, the structure, and money. Because we know that money runs a lot of things in politics in Nigeria. Now, factor number 7 is the new electoral law. The new electoral law. Now, if there is any sample size of how next year's election will go, then we need to go to Osun State. That looks like a sniff of what is likely going to happen in next year's election. Now, take note of the things that happen in Osun State next year. In Osun State election, number one is the fact that the incumbent lost an election despite the incumbent's merits. The voters' turnout was so massive that it almost doubled the previous election. The masses also did not like the current administration. Now, another thing that you must note is that there was a very strong alternative to the incumbent. It was not like as if there was a weak alternative. There was a very strong alternative to the incumbent. But the most important thing was the fact that there was a new electoral law. Now, despite the fact that that a good number of the factors I mentioned were actually available in the 2018 election for Osun State, Adeleke should have won. But Adeleke lost in 2018, whereas in 2022 he won. The only difference were two things. Number one is that a house divided itself against itself cannot stand, which you see the fact that Aregbesola and Oyetola were not exactly pari passu, even though Tinubu gave him his support and everything like that. Then the second thing, which is the more important one, is the fact that there was a new electoral law that reduced the ability to read. Now, the new electoral law is not going to take away the ability to read. It's obviously just going to reduce the ability to read. Why? Because in previous times, we know rigging has happened through inflating the number of people that voted, stealing ballot box, doing so many terrible things and stuff like that. But now with the new electoral law, the major form of rigging that would likely be able to happen on that day will be vote buying. So we see that this new electoral law is going to be a very major factor in next year's election, because it will affect how far people will be able to read in terms of getting those votes. Now, the final factor number 8, is alliances. I still strongly believe that there is a possible shocking alliance in the cards ahead of next year's election. I think that Peter Obi and Rabi Musa tried to merge, tried to join hands together, but then they did not agree on who was going to be president and who was going to be vice president. I still feel it may not necessarily be as big as that, because I feel that if it comes down to a rerun or to a runoff, as the case may be, then we will discover that there will be some strong alliances between the major 4 contenders. So, for example, let's say 2 out of the 4 contenders have to go for a rerun. And possibly maybe we will see where this person is having to shake hands with this person, having to shake hands with this person. I don't want to start mentioning names because anything can happen. But then, even before those major alliances, I still feel there's also some ground shaking alliances that would happen. And some that I'm keeping eye for is some things around the APGA and some things around Shoutout. So I'm still looking at whether these guys will still end up having those alliances that they possibly lost in 2019 and will be looking at getting ahead of 2023. So I still feel that we will still likely have some shocking alliances. I cannot say who will benefit the most amongst the presidential candidates, but the one to benefit the least from this alliance, they want to benefit the least obviously between, because it looks like as if APC, all other parties are trying to fight against APC, because APC looks like the ruling party at the moment. So every other person wants to go against them. If there's anybody that I don't see an article alliance with Tinubu, I think Kwankwaso could do it, but I don't completely see it too as well. So we know that all of the other parties are trying to fight against the ruling party. So it looks like Tinubu would enjoy the least from, or benefit the least from this final factor. Now, before we close, for every political video from now on, before we close, we will be doing an opinion poll card just to show us, just to give us a hint of how next year's election is shaping up in terms of results. Now, quickly go straight to what we have. For Atiku Abubakar, we have that he has 29% on his opinion. He has dropped because of the recent comments he made, the statements that angered Dr. Otto, who is also a sitting governor in the North Central, and she will refusing to campaign for him openly. So these are some of the factors that give Atiku 29% on our opinion polls. Now, of course, you can give your comments, you can give your comments and tell us why you feel that this person should be higher, this person should be lower, and give your reasons why in the comment section. Of course, the next person, Peter, will be 24% on our current poll, 24% on our current poll, despite the fact that we got the Afeniferi's commitment, there was a quick response to the club, and the release of the campaign team. He has dropped because of the confirmed split in Afeniferi's announcement. Many president are going to be split in Afeniferi's announcement. Now it is confirmed that there is a split in the Afenifere's endorsements. A not up to expectation turnout in Nasarawa's campaign, which happened to be the first place they were kicking off their campaign, Nasarawa Lafia. It was not up to expectation turnout. And then the ongoing issues of the suspension of the Labour Party youth leader with respect to misappropriate behavior. So these are some of the issues that came together and has to be in 24% of the current poll card. Now, the third person is Bola Tinubu, who happens to be the person leading on this current poll card, which shows 35% on the current poll card. Now, despite the constant issues of the current administration, the APC are still able to find a way to cause some distractions from the issues, including the meeting with Pafashoranti, which was a very smart political move, to be honest, of the Afenifere. And they did it in such a way that they were at least able to confirm that split that they wanted to confirm, so it not look like as if Obi already has all the support of the entire Afenifere. So now the Yorubas or the Afenifere faithfuls are now having this: who do we support or who do we not support between Obi and Tinubu? And of course, you can see some of the events and the rallies that they're trying to put together in Lagos. It's the annulment of the certificate court case. Of course, Tinubu's certificate court case was annulled. So where they said we could not go on the court case because of whatever thing where the court came out to that ruling. Now, however, we must note that Tinubu is trying to hold people, even though their lead has gradually dropped since May 2022. Furthermore, Lagos still looks like an issue with the downfall drivers strike. Recently, downfall drivers strike. So Lagos still looks like an issue. And the fourth person is Rabi Kwankwaso, with 12% of the current vote. He has gained more ground. The truth is that Kwankwaso has increased in terms of his poll. I think amongst every other person, Kwankwaso has increased. He has gained more ground with the release of a sophisticated manifesto, or should I say blueprint, as they call it. And that has brought in new things like that. The fact that NYSC could live for 2 years with a voluntary 1 year in the military. So you get a job 1 year, voluntary 1 year in the military. So it's a wrap, guys, and thank you for sticking with us throughout this video. There is a giveaway on this video where you get 30 persons to both subscribe, like, and share the video, and send a screenshot of them doing so to our WhatsApp number that would be displayed on your screen right now. And the first to complete the task walks away with 10,000 naira. Giveaway lasts till November 30th, 2022. God bless us and have a wonderful rest of